You're now watching The Wash Daily. Today in news, a federal bill removes a provision for students who have been convicted of a cannabis crime from receiving federal aid for college. Where it says the students who have been impacted by the war on drugs, and many of them disproportionately, shouldn't be affected by federal regulation preventing them from access to higher education. The bill doesn't include any funding for federal coronavirus protection. It doesn't allow for marijuana-related businesses to apply for those grants or to receive any assistance in that way. It also keeps the language which restricts Washington, D.C. from using taxpayer dollars to establish a legal cannabis operation. Also in news, New Jersey got legal cannabis, but there's a civil rights group making sure that they implement it in the right way. What the group is saying is Phil Murphy's plan utilized the idea that people who have been disproportionately affected by cannabis needed to have their records expunged. Well, it looks like that's not happening as fast as they had hoped, and their group has made some recommendations on how to go about fixing the problems of injustice as a result of the war on drugs, which was actually a war on free humanity, and especially against folks living in poorer economic areas of the country. Also in news, Rand Paul's bill looks to make the hemp industry more sustainable by increasing the number of allowable THC in a hemp plant from 0.03 to 1%, and he's finding support for that legislation. The Hemp Industry Association has signed on to that number and saying that higher amount of THC is required for hemp to be sustainable. Also, the bill looks to make that farmers' crops wouldn't be tested, only their finished product would be tested for THC. What's happening now is arbitrarily testing the hemp farmers' crops, and a lot of times those plants spike for a short amount of time above the amount of THC that's allowed. Climate's a big factor, and plants exposed to extreme heat will often make more THC as a mechanism to ensure their own survival. However, those levels aren't permanent, and they do tend to average out, especially by the time of production and when they actually go from making plants into a piece of hemp. The 0.03 number has been a big problem for the very important hemp industry getting off the ground. The fact of the matter is the most important environmental issue of our time is the transition from cotton and timber into cannabis. Any so-called environmentalist who doesn't agree with me is 100% wrong. Thanks for watching The Wash Daily.